The world is like a ride at an amusement park, and when you choose to go on it, you think it's real, because that's how powerful our minds are.
I can tell you from experience, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is.
Don't think, feel. It is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Thomas.
Yes, sir.
You are someone who is clearly very aware of his own physiology. I mean, just look at you. You're a sculpted god of a man.
Right.
How do you deal with the fact that you're getting older and that your body will eventually decay and waste away?
Great question. Not very well. No, I'm just kidding. It's today before I trained a client, I went and ran wind sprints just, right up the street on the beach. And I noticed as I warmed up, I'm like, okay, don't pull a hamstring, don't pull your groin. Be aware of, technically what you're doing. I changed the biggest change that I've made is that I am hyper aware of what I'm doing technically. And that gives me something to focus on rather than PRs. PRs in terms of weight. You know what I mean? So whereas before I was very focused on, look at this body, I can take it and, deadlift X amount and squat X amount. I'm going to get involved in powerlifting and all these things. Once you have a few injuries, you just want to be able to walk around and do your job well. And so the focus needs to shift away from, a lot of people are able to do it where they get back to their thing and they're able to deadlift, for instance. If I was to start deadlifting again and could do more than I've ever done, it's sort of a dream of mine. But every time I get near a hip dominant movement where I load my spine, it puts me down. So it's a completely different mindset when I exercise now. I'm much more interested in doing things well within my capability. I know that sort of sounds like a cop-out, but it's true. It's like I'm only able to sprint as fast as I can sprint with this body and the injuries that I've suffered so far. I'm not going to be able to challenge what I did at 25 when I was super healthy. Now, that being said, I'm able to get stronger in some ways that I've never, I'm stronger now in some ways than I've ever been. And certain stuff in terms of mobility has suffered. So every day I wonder, is this all going to work as well as it did yesterday? And for the most part, I think it's probably degrading so slowly that I don't notice it. But if I was to even train with my training partner from a few years ago when I lived in Austin, he would be like, wow, you're way weaker. What happened to all your strength? And I'd be like, well, I'm technically very sound in all my lifts right now. You know what I mean? But
yes, I do know what you mean.
Here's the thing. I get a ton of pleasure out of using my body outside of the weight room as well. So I really love to surf. I really love to run fast. I really love to swim. And I would rather do those things pain-free or as close to it as possible than to be stoked that I put another 5 pounds on my bench, even though it's fraying the shit out of my right rotator cuff, or my discs are, squirting out of my spine at 5 centimeters now, or millimeters now. Centimeters would be bad. Millimeters now because, of the front squats that I did, because it feels so boss in the gym to move big weights. But at what cost for me now? As I'm aging myself out of the gym, I'm sure I'll get into more stuff like rock climbing, continue to surf, probably yoga again. But it's not easy, but I think that it's easier if you make sure that you are eating right, you're sleeping right, and you're focusing on doing things well.
Agreed. Also,
does that make sense?
some people might argue that you're enjoying the journey or focusing on the process as opposed to the goal.
Sure. So I'm going to flip the question around on you. If you have to compete, are you going to walk away from that competition having lost as happy as you would having won, even though the journey is the training and everything else? I mean, obviously you want to win. Everyone wants to win. Mm-hmm. So what's going to happen to you as a competitor first, but as a coach second, when you are faced with opponents that are starting to whoop your ass?
Oh, dude, I mean, I've already been faced with that, and I like to think I've taken it pretty well, but the reason being is that I've been preparing myself for it for a long, long, long time.
Wow.
Even in my mid-20s, I knew that there'd be a point would come where I'd realize that I'm getting too old for this. And
you felt like that in your mid-20s already?
Yeah, I knew. I mean, because it's just, I think it's an intelligent way to look at the thing. I realized it was a very physical endeavor that I was doing, and that athletic attributes played such a huge role. And most attributes decline with age. So therefore, my abilities would decline. And I remember the other day I was in Thailand, actually, and I went to do some jiu-jitsu with this black belt who was very, very good. And usually, I mean, I'm quite a big guy and I'm quite strong and I'm quite technical. So usually when I'm training with someone, I can edge them out in one of those areas and use that to level the playing field or even pull ahead. But I mean, this dude was just bigger and stronger and younger and better, and just there was no way I could keep up with him. And funny enough, we were wrestling, and I did this move, one of my old faithful moves, and I had a neck injury at the time. And as I put my hand on the ground to base up, my neck just made this horrible sound, and I lost strength in my arm. I obviously pinched something, just pinched some sort of nerve, and it was weird. It was almost like I knew that was the moment when I knew, okay, cool, you can't keep playing this game. You have to start thinking about other things, you know. I realized, and strangely, the fact that I'd been preparing myself for it for such a long time made it easier to deal with.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because when you do it against a human opponent, it's just so much more immediate, right? It's like it's like in the animal kingdom when the male lion comes around and whoops the other male lion's ass, and he's like, now the harem is mine, you're out of here. And you sort of see the older male lion slink away, having been beaten, or bull, or whatever it is. The patriarch of the herd has been bested, and now the new young blood moves in. Mm-hmm. When you're doing stuff like in the weight room, it's not that painful, you know. I think psychologically it's got to be way harder for you because it's an actual ass beating, whereas with me it's like oh man, I can't pick it up. If somebody sees me and they see me fail BFD, it's not like I got punched in the mouth a bunch, you know, or tapped a bunch, you know. I think that's for you to do that and go through that. I know that psychologically for fighters, like, it's really tough to walk away, right? Because you're so repetitively in that mode of winning and being the best, and just, I don't know, I think that's got to be one of the cruelest jokes of time, you know, is that, what did Charles Barkley say? Father Time is undefeated. I mean,
it's very true. It's very true.
I don't know how you can walk away. What does an old martial artist do? Do they have younger people teach for them, or their concepts? How does it work?
I mean, I guess that would be the thing about jiu-jitsu that's interesting is the coach is always judged on how tough he is at that current moment in time. So, for example, like, if you're a 23-year-old guy who's competing and you're winning loads of competitions, you're amazing coach, and everyone's behind you, and if you open a school, it'll be highly successful. A friend said it to me the other day, jiu-jitsu is the only sport in which the coach is expected to be able to beat all of his students. Just think about that in basketball. Like, imagine if the basketball coach was expected to be able to play one-on-one and beat all of his
Right.
players, or if the football coach was expected to be able to jump on the field and just outplay all of the players, right? It's just
Yeah, it's crazy.
Whereas jiu-jitsu, I mean, it's obviously it's quite an absolute statement, and it's not totally true, but there definitely is an element of that, and it's one of the reasons I sometimes get quite dejected with jiu-jitsu, because, man, that pool of guys that I can beat is getting smaller and smaller, and the pool of guys that can beat me is getting bigger and bigger. And the answer or the solution used to be just train harder or train more, and that's just not an option.
Eat more protein.
Yeah, eat more. Yeah, eat more protein. Take more protein, right?
Right.
And so I find, I think that's the cool thing about yoga is someone once said to me that, or I read once somewhere, that yoga is a martial art that you do against yourself, and I really like that idea. It's the same as lifting weights in the gym, though. It's just, you're much more in control of the variables as well.
Well, so what's the long term on that? What's your game plan long term? What's sustainable to feel psychologically sound as one of the best instructors in the world without having to back it up with, whipping all your students?
I don't know, but I think it's just acceptance of a lot of things.
That sounds so hard.
Yeah, just acceptance, and just I think choosing sparring partners wisely is so important, man. When I travel, I go to these new gyms, and I'll just go work out in whatever gym I happen to be in. And the problem is, it's good for me in a way, but it's also very difficult. Every new gym you get to, it's almost like there's a pecking order or hierarchy, and you have to establish yourself in that. Even if you don't want to, the other guys are going to be using you to benchmark because you're the new guy and you're not your black belt. So they want to test you. And I mean, just yesterday I was at a gym, and these guys are all cool. They were all cool guys. I would do the exact same thing as them. I'm not making any judgments on them, but they all wanted to spar with me, and they all went flat out against me. And it meant me getting home and just being so busted up and tired that I just had to go to sleep, and
Wow.
even today, everything hurts, and I'm just getting kind of bored of feeling like that all the time. And I find yoga is on the opposite end of that spectrum. When I finish a good yoga session, I feel energized and revitalized, and do you know what I mean? It's kind of it's giving me what I need, whereas hard jiu-jitsu sparring is pretty much the opposite of that.
Other than the, regular things that you've done probably to mitigate your aches and pains associated with recovery, like you don't probably drink as much, you don't party the way you did when you were a kid. Have you changed anything in terms of your sleep or nutrition as you age in order to be at your best more consistently?
But I wish I could say that I have. But the thing is, my nutrition and my regime has always been pretty good,
That's good. Okay.
And the problem
Great
is,
answer.
Yeah, but the problem is, now that I'm definitely feeling the effect of age, and, it's harder and harder to, keep weight off, and the problem is I don't have any wiggle room, because I can't just say, I got to just make my nutrition better, because it's already pretty fucking good, dude. I mean, I maybe have 10 drinks a year.
Wow.
Yeah, or I think...
all at once, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I think the next level, the next bit of wiggle room, which, or the next little margin that I'll have to start working into is hormone replacement therapy, and in particular TRT and HGH. But I mean, that's very expensive, and it's the reason I haven't been doing it already is because I travel so much. It's hard to keep that stuff refrigerated and take it through customs and all that kind of stuff, and that's...
Just ask Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah,
He's all about that, right?
Um,
Well, so that's really interesting, and probably a good topic for another cast, but the inclusion of if you're normalized on TRT, if your testosterone is now brought up to baseline levels of where it should be, or where everyone else's is when they're 30 or 25 or whatever, how do you feel about competing against guys who might have elevated levels when a competition's on the line, it's sanctioned, there's money? I mean, I would be I don't want to say, it's very controversial to say, but it seems like you would take any advantage you could get to win.
Yeah, dude. Often that's been on my mind a lot. I don't really compete much anymore. I have one last competition that's coming up in Las Vegas on the 26th of September, which I'm looking forward to. And I know a bunch of those dudes will be on stuff. Like, there's no doubt. A bunch of those guys are going to be on some kind of performance-enhancing drug, and I'm not, unfortunately. I really like if
there's still time.
Yeah, there's still time. But yeah, it's just the nature of it's the way things are, dude. And I will definitely feel. But again, if I manage to win a match or two, it'll be all this against the guy who's on some stuff. It'll be all the sweeter, right?
Right, but let me refine that then. Moving forward, would you feel comfortable entering more competitions? Oh, you're like, wow, I started this new TRT regimen and I recover faster and I put on a little bit more muscle mass and I'm lighter and everything works great. So maybe I should start competing again. It'll give you that false sense of
that's
confidence.
True. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, that's a very, very good point. Yeah, but I'll probably still not compete, bro, even when I was just saying to a friend the other day, he was like, oh, dude, you think you're struggling now? Wait till you get to 45. And I just said to him, when I'm 45, dude, I am going to be on I'm going to have a proper anti-aging testosterone replacement and growth hormone therapy protocol that's administered to me by a doctor. And do you know what I mean? I'll probably be in better shape than I am now. So that's kind of what I just tell myself to get through the day.
Yeah, that's great.
Whatever you need to tell yourself, right?
Exactly. By that time, I should have a bionic spine, and every 10 years or so, I'll get new body parts just to the wear and tear. I can't afford to have wear and tear in the 21st century.
Exactly.
Kidding me?
It reminds me of that screenplay that you spoke about, which always. You told me about it about 7 months ago, but I've had it on my mind a lot. It's fascinated me. I don't know if you want to run it by me again one more time. It was the man who's chosen to be the Messiah for that particular religion.
Oh, right. The ministry. Yeah, so they're pulling off what is basically they're calling a messianic ruse. They are propping up a man and a woman as the new saviors, as prophets, as holy people. And they use software to basically figure out the most trustworthy features, facial features on the planet. So by getting a scan of, like say the most trustworthy leaders throughout history, they're able to put them all together in a composite. And then these new people who are chosen to be the prophets get reconstructive surgery so that they have the most trustworthy features. And then their message of love, via a visual context is that much more palatable.
Interesting.
And so, all kinds of shenanigans ensue. They become the biggest organized religion. I'm not going to give away. Don't try to get me to give away my screenplay right now. But I'm totally fascinated by what we think is trustworthy and what we'll buy, what we think is, something that's believable, what we'll put our faith into, particularly in a place where everyone's competing for this right here, right? Everyone's competing for this space.
And do you think the reason you're fascinated with that is because you ultimately have trust issues, or, why?
Great question. I think just because of the age we're living in. It's like, man, we were just talking about the Republican debates the other day, and it's turned into like a dystopian Verhoeven future. Like everything that Paul Verhoeven made, like RoboCop and The Running Man and all that stuff where celebrities... Dude, it's... Yeah, well, ish, exactly. But, right, like when Casper Van Dien's going to save the world. It's all become like a satire of itself. It doesn't seem like it could possibly be real. Mm-hmm. Like, wait, you're kidding me? Donald Trump, the billionaire, is now the lead candidate?
It's unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, dude. It's astonishing to me the way the world has turned out in the last 5 years. and now it seems like completely bananas. Like the
It's
world is
only gonna
upside
get
down.
more astonishing as well.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And it's exciting.
times. Yeah.
It's super exciting, but it's also really terrifying. I'm like, well, that can't be real. Like, that can't be real. I woke up. You wake up every day and you're like, where am I? Anytime I go online to see my Facebook feed or BBC or Drudge Report or Huffington Post, I like to keep the shrillness on either side. I'm always like, that can't be a real headline. That's not real. And it is, and it's getting weirder. So, you know.
Although I asked myself the question recently, is it getting weirder, or is more of it just getting to us? Are there just more mobile phones with cameras on them and more web pages and news outlets and avenues by which we can figure out or be shown what's happening in the world, like the dog that rides a skateboard or whatever, like maybe
Shark Cat?
Yeah, or Shark Cat. Maybe there have been dogs riding skateboards and shark cats for as long as we can remember, or as long as history's been going, but we just didn't know about them. You know, I think it's
the
a combination
latter.
of the, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's always been out there, dude. It's always been a crazy planet. Now it's just like, it's right here. So it's like, wow, I can't even believe that's something that's real. Again. You know, it happens every single day, like 100 times. You're like, well, this world's crazy. But it always has been, probably.
Thomas, as always, it's illuminating speaking with you, Rohan. To anyone who watches this or listens to it, please leave us a review on iTunes and give us a share on Facebook. We'd really appreciate that.
Hasta pronto. Until the next time.
Until the next time, my man.
Bye.
The world is like a ride at an amusement park, and when you choose to go on it, you think it's real, because that's how powerful our minds are.
I can tell you from experience, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is.
Don't think, feel. It is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.